Good morning, everyone, or hello, everyone, I guess, depending on what time you're watching this. It is Saturday, the 15th of June, 2024, and it's been a while since I have been online. I was traveling. I went to the Gaspé Zoo, and which was a lot of fun. And went on ATVs, went down old, railroad tracks that used to be in place that were removed many years ago. So that was very neat to go down this long path of just ancient advanced technologies that were created, and then no remnants of it. It's only locals in the area that are actually familiar with the fact that used to be the old I don't know, we call it Trans-Canada Railway system. Anyway, very interesting. And I also went on a lobster fishing boat. I have family members that have been fishing lobster, fishing and tuna and scallops and stuff like that for generations. Like even my uncle has been doing it for 37 years. My stepbrother did it for 7 years. My stepfather's done it. Grandfather on that side. They even have their own boats or had their own boats. And then I have friends that I went to school with that are also fishermen, but I never went out. And so I needed to go out. And so got up at 2 a.m. back at 6:30 p.m. that day, a long day. Traps are heavy, like doing the bait bagging and stuff like that. It's putting the elastic bands on the lobsters, all very interesting things to do. And then the measurements and the sizing and stuff like that to make sure that you're not getting lobsters that are too small, throw them back. And then you also take a look to see if they're pregnant, if there's any babies on the stomach. If they are, you throw them back. And if there's like a clip on the tail. And yeah, so it's been really busy. I'm just getting back and trying to catch up on housework and yard work. So that's what I was doing all day yesterday. And yeah, it was a really fun, interesting time. Obviously, saw friends and family, met new people. It was great. But now back to reality. There's a lot of things that I didn't miss. I was tracking, but I was sometimes I was in no internet or no cell reception areas, and so I was off my phone a lot, and so that's why I'm going to just go over some of the major things that I shared when I was away. It wasn't much, and a lot of things I didn't highlight, but this is just in the last 24 hours. I'm just going to show you what I've been up to. My stories. I want to see if this still plays on this screen. Reception's still bad. Almost there. So if anyone has emailed me or reached out when I was away, today is the day that I'm going to be responding back to multiple people. Just 1 second.
Consultant, I can tell you exactly why the Canadian government is allowing these people to go on strike. And that is because of all the migrants and immigrants coming into Canada. There's nobody there now to protect those borders, so more can come through. You see, in the United States, they've learned that if they just allowed them to come over the border, the agents are there and people can point the fingers at them and say, hey, why didn't the agents do anything? But if they go on strike, well, they don't get blamed for anything, and the government still looks great. This is just a distraction tool just to get more immigrants into the country illegally. There you have it.
So everybody knows that the Canadian Border Services Agency is going on strike. 9,000 members.
So as an ex-immigration consultant, I can tell you exactly why the Canadian government is allowing these people to go on strike.
So that's what I wanted to follow up with. He's an ex-immigration consultant, and these are valid assessments, and also something that is a little frustrating to me because I also know people that are very high up with the CBSA veterans, and so I always think in my head, like, what involvement have they had in order to do things? Just slimy stuff, right? Slimy stuff. Yeah, because definitely having an like the illegal kind. And the kind that's not benefiting Canadians. It's taking a long time to load. I've paid in it, and so like last year was all.
So everybody knows that the Canadian Border Services Agency.
It's just interesting. Last year, like the threat and the fear mongering was like all these fires. I know how that sounds. I don't care. And so this year they're talking about soon, like heavy rain for insurance companies that work with. It's on my website. I predicted this for 2024, and so they're also the ones that are connected with these not-for-profit, these NGOs, and or these companies that they're hiring, international, and they're spraying our skies, and they're doing things to our soil. And these are also weather modification geoengineering, right? So I'm not just talking about chemtrails, I'm talking about contrails with silver oxide, silver iodide, aluminum oxide. Like there's heavy metals being sprayed, and also like toxic materials. This has been known for decades. I've shared the proof, even with government websites admitting it and stuff like that, and access to information requests where there was planes unknown, not able to be identified, but spraying pesticides, what they consider to be pesticides or classified as pesticides. They even come to that conclusion of testing their facilities in Canada. And this was even in 2017, 2018, and people requesting follow-up. I've shared those access information requests, the emails from the official government email addresses already. And so this has been ongoing. It's been planting seeds and staging the scenes, literally, for like these nuclear events and these alien invasions, like it's fucking and these weather phenomena. And if you look at Saudi Arabia, just how much rain and so much damage to homes and infrastructure. And they admitted, it was openly admitted that it was geoengineering. It was their own aircrafts that were the ones that were creating. Companies warn about fires or more like escalated or elevated fire and elevated like rain issues. It causes a little bit of duress that for that season, right? And so now I'm wondering how much rain we're gonna get this fucking summer, and how much it's gonna be followed by like planes dispersing particles that absorb moisture, create clouds, and then that causes obviously rainfall. And anyway, I'm going on these tangents. Brett Sabra, like I've already, I don't know if I shared his interview with Joe Rogan about the moon landings. He's not a flat earther, by the way, or a true earther. He is, but he is someone that has he has irrefutable evidence that the moon landings were all faked, and I've shared that, and I've shared way more information than even he's shared also as proof. I mean, beyond what he's shared like an incredible amount. He actually shared the most, I think, about taking the moon landings. But there's also other stuff out there as well that's really good that just reinforces what he's been saying. That this is very interesting because he's talking about petrified rocks right now, and I've talked about that for years.
Neil Armstrong said he personally picked up a particular rock, put it in his pocket, and saved it for the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Who he gave to, right? And they put it in a hermetically sealed box.
Yeah.
The curator saw my film.
Come on. And even on my Instagram, so shadow banned so often, and
I saw that.
Neil Armstrong said he personally picked up. Neil Armstrong said he personally picked up a particular rock, put it in his pocket, and saved it for the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Who he gave to, right? And they put it in a hermetically sealed box.
Yeah.
The curator saw my film, says, "Oh, I wonder about that." He, in the middle of the night, they expected no one would open it up. He opens it up, puts the rock under a microscope, and it's petrified wood, kind of this eerie, out of the world looking.
That's a fact.
So unless there are trees on Earth, on the moon, then it's a fake. In fact, there's no moon rock proves to be fake. That Neil Armstrong picked up, but no reporter asks. So if the moon rocks are fake, what about the moon missions? 6 weeks before they're allegedly going to the moon for the very first time, somehow with that deadline, von Braun, former Nazi, takes a leisurely vacation in Antarctica, where he picks up tons of pounds of lunar meteorites. I wonder what they use those for. Neil Armstrong said he personally picked up a particular rock, put it in his pocket, and saved it for the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
Oh, that's a good one.
Who he gave to, right? And put it in a hermetically sealed box.
Yeah.
The curator saw my film, says, "Oh, I wonder about that." He, in the middle of the night, they expected no one would open it up. He opens it up, puts the rock under a microscope, and it's petrified wood, kind of this eerie, out of the world looking.
That's a fact.
So unless there are trees growing on Earth, on the moon, then it's a fake. In fact, there's a story. It says moon rock proves to be fake. That Neil Armstrong picked up and personally delivered, but no reporter asks. So if the moon rocks are fake, 6 weeks before they're allegedly going to the moon for the very first time, somehow with that deadline, von Braun, former Nazi, takes a leisurely vacation in Antarctica.
Yeah, that's a fun
where
one.
he picks up, dozens of pounds of lunar meteorites. I wonder what they use those for. Neil Armstrong's.
bunch of liars. What happened? Okay, I'm just going through my stories. Let's see here. Yeah, so Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, these guys like Chris Hadfield. Come clean, guys. This is disgusting. It's honestly disgusting that they're keeping this going. Oh my God. It's the ultimate deceit. Oh, this is very interesting as well. Since I'm also talking about censorship.
Video showing the comments in TikTok are different.
Exactly. I think it's Instagram. Was doing it with her boyfriend, and they
Yeah.
were both looked at the same thing, but they had different comments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mind fuck.
Comments were mocking the man, and the comments on his side
Yeah.
was mocking the woman.
Yes. Whenever I'm looking at comments, I make the idiot mistake of thinking this represents some consensus that, but actually, no, you're just looking at the algorithm serving the comments and the content. That is so up.
The comments are supposed to be a conversation about if you're curating the conversation in an unnatural.
Yes.
Like, that's very different than showing me what I want to say.
Yes.
Because now you're changing the dynamics of how things are discussed.
Sir, that's the evil right there. That's the evil.
That's crazy.
The other assumption with the algorithm is just like random, or it's using some set of variables and serving things up. But this is an idiot assumption. I mean, you could, if you are controlling comments, then that means like, all right, let's just like make people mad at each other. Let's make people completely pissed at each other as much as possible. Convey this. There's like these massive divides between us, and then they're going to fight each other instead of recognizing they're pretty much the same. As I saw that video showing.
Oh, sorry, I'm like looking at other stuff that's been sent to me. I've shared this post before, but it's just interesting that they're still trying to do like the same tactics to disempower people. And so ridiculous people, whoever this friggin' dummy is. Let me see. Jackie Sinnerton. Anyway, go back to that. Pause it. COVID with wings. Beard chicken coop could bring down from industry. Experts, retards. Like, no, fear bird flu. And I legitimately mean that in its actual term, because these are people that have obviously limited cognitive ability. So it's not making fun or anything like that. It is literally just like, and even Tucker Carlson was saying that there are people that are morons that are in positions, high level positions, and you hear them speak. When you actually listen to their meetings and their speaking conventions and stuff like that, and get the leaked video of them one-on-one with people, you see how dumb they really are. And it's terrifying, because these are the people that are writing the scripts and have a lot of fucking wealth. Like, oh my goodness, and they're untouchable, and it's terrifying that they're the ones that are, again, like, writing the scripts. Anyway, bring down the country's farming industry, impacting eggs, chickens, beef, and even dairy. Oh my goodness. And so this, I think, is just planting the seeds, because there are people throughout history that have created mass starvation events. And if you look at Holodomor, if you want the Ukrainian example, just in the 20th century, and there's so many more examples, right? Even with Ireland, with the potato famine, and people don't understand what actually happened there is actually happening in Canada now, and in a lot of areas in Europe. And people are so ignorant, and what's happening in North Korea, actually. And so there are plants that are major producers of food, healthy food, impacted, fires, down, massive amounts of livestock, varying degrees, and farmland being impacted and bought up by billionaires that they're not even American, or they don't even like Americans, and then they're also shredding trees, contrails, poisoning pushing local farmers and look off their land. And so even with Canada, for example, with the carbon scam increase, just this April's Day, 20% increase, ironically, this is shutting down a lot more farms, right? Like, that can't afford the thousands of dollars extra a month, or a year, depending on the size of the farm, of extra taxes they're paying because of the this scam, and most of the money again is going into already rich people's pockets, and people that are the ones that are impacting the environment the most. People that are living in cities and suburbs don't want to hear this, but you are most definitely not carbon neutral. People that are managing land, that are managing animals and gardens and stuff, we are the people that are assisting with this respiration of the atmos, right? And that oxygen carbon dioxide exchange that's allowing the land to stay fertile, right? And you guys are poisoning the soil, and you're shredding the trees, or living on land, and your homes and stuff like that. You're still utilizing electricity and oil, and the you're getting, you're not growing it, yeah, or hunting it, and so anyway, so there's going to be mass starvation events. It's government controlled, and so Stephen Guilbeault, like, whether he knows it or not, this is what he's planning and executing, and Chrystia Freeland as well, and Melanie Jolie, and Bill Blue, and yes, Justin Trudeau as well. All these people, morons that have no idea what they're doing, and rich entitled brats that have never worked a day of their lives on behalf of Canada and Canadians and the country itself, like the land, and they just keep on making things worse. This is a huge event, but it's because like I was talking about with COVID, I called that increase in rare cancers. They're trying to link it to the gain of function virus or disease, despite the fact that people were contracting it via inoculation. 4.6% of people, even in the February 2020 videos coming from Pfizer alone that I've already shared repeatedly over the years, and then March 2022 further elaborated and proved like the alarming amount of myocarditis, pericarditis, cancers, tumors, blood clots, fertility issues, you name it. Micropenis was even on that. Weird. And by the way, herpes and vaccine-induced autoimmune disease, AIDS, and things like that. Terrifying. But yeah, I called that Ukraine, Russia, Afghanistan, 9/11, January 6th, Freedom Convoy, farming stuff, fire stuff, water stuff. Yeah. So every decade there's something new regarding climate change, because there are people that are making a lot of money doing that, like making us live in fear. And so if you look at the example, the 60s oil gone, and oil being petroleum, by the way, is not a fossil fuel, and it is the second most abundant fuel in the world. I've shared videos on that as well. And there are people that own the oil industries, and they're very much protecting that industry, because it's $1 trillion industry. And again, owned by a very small amount of people who inherited wealth. And anytime people try to open up their own, to extract their own oil, there is sabotage, there's damage, and these are well coordinated attacks and things like that as well, that are disrupting people even from within Canada, of making our own money off of our own resources. And it's happening all the time. And they burn people out, they anyway, damage property, all of these things, threatening people, incentives to leave places, and or costs, also very, very, very expensive. But anyway, and then what's going on with Israel, and right from the beginning, I was sharing how much misinformation that there was out there that was getting us involved in what could possibly be another world war. It was also causing genocides. And in my network, innocent civilians were murdered. A lot of crimes against humanity being committed by Netanyahu. That doesn't make me anti-Semitic by calling out the IDF and a war criminal. It doesn't mean I don't like Jews, because I have friends that are Jews. I love, yeah. It's ridiculous for people to even say that, for me calling out crimes against humanity, when I have a lot of armed conflict certifications. I got a master's in that, deployed, I'm very with engagement, all these things. And so when I'm speaking out on crimes against humanity, I'm not doing it because I'm right and you're wrong. None of that stuff. I'm trying to get the truth out there, because lives are at risk, and I've buried people that I've loved, even overseas and in Canada. And very, very painful to go through, not being dramatic, but, and I don't, and I want to avoid that for other people. And with Ukraine, what's going on as well, they are getting slaughtered. There's a lot more people that are people are even reporting, and this is a proxy war for money. This is not profiting anyone. The only people that are winning are the people that are heads of the banking systems, people that are head of the oil industries, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, J profiting. The monarchy. And religious organizations all over the world. Yeah. Anyways. Another ice age, acid rain will destroy all crops in 10 years. The ozone layer will be gone in 10 years. And people don't even understand what the ozone is and how it consistency based on the season as well. And it's not just a hole. Anyway. Yeah, all resulted in more taxes. And now interest rates on our homes, which is just more taxes. It's just digital taxes. Like, we are getting our money stolen from us. And we have no one at the judicial or legislative level or executive level, any of these levels, that are doing anything about it. And yeah, in fact, they're enabling it, whether they know it or not. Oh yeah, so I actually shared this. Okay, so I want you to hear this.
I saw that video showing.
Turns out Tucker Carlson had a chance to meet World Economic Forum's Turns out Tucker Carlson had a chance to meet World Economic Forum's Klaus Schwab. Can you imagine what that must have been like?
I was with Klaus Schwab this winter. I spoke at an event in the Middle East he was at, and I got to see him up close. He's like an idiot. He seems a little senile, like doesn't have any idea what he's talking about at all. He's totally unimpressive. The closer you get, the more you realize that the people running things are like mediocre. They're buffoons. They have no idea what they're doing.
Turns out Tucker Carlson had a chance. Turns out Tucker Carlson.
It just gets more bizarre as we.
So I like this. This is kind of what I was alluding to before, but this is something I posted yesterday as well. You can support Palestine without supporting Hamas. Israel is committing war crimes without being anti-Semitic. You can be a Democrat. You can be a pro-choice Republican. Everything is a gray area. Stop letting people tell you it isn't. And stop hating the person next to you because they differ on an issue. It's tiresome, it's eroding the foundation of this country, and it benefits no one except the people trying to control you. And I really like that. That was so well said, which is why there's so many people that commented on it and liked it, and it was pinned. But yeah, just really well said. Light and motion created by sound.
This sound is made by 100 human voices. One sound that connects us all for a moment. But there's something more. Everything that lives in the world is united by one thing. Water. Vibration of the voices takes shapes on the water surface. Wave patterns of harmony that we find everywhere in nature. You are. And everything that lives with you here in this world is sound, vibration, waves, resonance. You are sound. We are one.
I love that. And actually, speaking of water, last week, Calgary, major water pipe damage. And right away, like I was getting, like I was in New Brunswick, and I do a post about it like that in Rebel News. And gave the assessment, and he was in Calgary at the time. He's covering the Coots cases, and water pipes. Because I was asking first, I'm like, what happened to the pipeline in Calgary? I asked like a few people because I had like in an hour and I had heard about it. Water pipes, and failed somehow. Some supersonics, sabotage, likely sabotage. But without evidence, I'd assume the most likely thing: idiotic government mismanagement, many people without water. But without evidence, because it's hard again to prove that this was sabotage. But everyone that I was talking to from all over the world, they're like, yeah, it was sabotage. There was work that was being done for a few weeks leading up to it. And again, I'm like, oh my god, okay, just interesting. And on multiple arcs in Calgary at the same time, and now fire bans everywhere, even though it's been pissing season for the last month. They just did maintenance on those exact pipes in April, and so like that other people were telling me this as well. And I'm like, yeah, it's such bullshit. It's to push climate change. Bullshit. I said bullshit twice. Anyway, push people into temporary housing that isn't temporary. Push people into 15-minute cities, and it's going to fuck us. It's going to fuck us. I'm like, mass starvation will be coming. Yep. And so I did want to reach out about Calgary, because that's very important, because over 1 million people were without water, and now they're talking about rationing water, all of this stuff. And I've said literally on my white food shortages and water shortages and I am not meaning to call people out like Dan Bongino, but the people that are pushing shares and stocks in Anheuser-Busch, or Bish, whatever, the Bud Light and Stella and all those other beer names, like it's all owned by them. And water is leaf, right? So they usually demand when you have a lot of people that are putting shares and stocks and money into possible water shortages. Guess what, fucking morons? Like, this has been the playbook. This has been the playbook. So this is where I mean greed. This is what greed gets people, because I know people that have shares and stocks in Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and General and the fucking Dynamics and stuff like that. And I'm like, so much money. And I'm like, I could be a millionaire by now. I could have had shares and stock. I've been calling this stuff out months in advance, years in advance, giving you the countries and all this stuff. I could have easily done the same thing that these people did and put shares and stocks, assets, and but that's enabling. That's enabling, right? And oh my God, even it just pisses me off that people don't get it, and it's mostly men. And I don't mean to sound sexist, but they just don't think about people and like and that impact, like and the impact and the harm. Things women focus more on people overall, generally speaking. These are facts. This is proven all about stuff as well that can also reinforce that. And it's profoundly upsetting because people are suffering, and men are the last to suffer. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, I shouldn't say that. The people that suffer the first, it's children and elderly, because the size, the fragility, the like lack of strength, all of these things, cognitive abilities, like the need to be facilitated in order to survive, needing a caregiver and a provider, you know, not being able to survive on their own, and then women being the weaker, physically weaker of the biological sexes. Also, so even with like for mass starvation events, they are the ones that are that die earlier or get exploited, because again, it's the easier targets, and then also suffer under sooner. They will get heat exhaustion sooner, and all of those things. And so men, weak men create now their country to be taken over. That do it as well. And then you got women like me trying 4 people, all this stuff in 1 people, and I'm getting targeted by men. Like I put myself out there, so it's anyway. It's very interesting. I'm not complaining at all. Like I've said, I'm sharing this information, knowing the repercussions. And yeah.
From your perspective, this is about sound economic policy or about cornering the conservatives? Sound.
You got to see this post because, oh my goodness, I loved it. This is Chrystia Freeland getting destroyed by Vasi Kapelos. And, you know, I'm not a lesbian, but I fell in love with her. So I have a bit of a girl crush. After this, yeah. If I can play it, you'll understand why I say that. And I like her outfit too. I like that color. I'm just going to refresh.
Cornering the conservatives.
Okay, maybe that's not a video. Okay.
Sound economic policy.
Why?
Because we believe in fairness for every generation.
The things you're talking about, though, dental care, Canada Child Benefit, daycare, they tally up to far more on an annual basis than this will bring in over $5 billion.
I'm presenting it as a panacea, but I am presenting it as a meaningful way to raise money to fund the things that Canadians need.
I think you did present it as a panacea. I'm going to challenge the way that you're framing that based on your comments on Sunday. I'll read them directly to you. Do you want to live in a country where those at the very top live lives of luxury, but must do so in gated communities behind ever higher fences, using private vestment? This is going to fix all that. And what responsibility does your government bear for putting us in that position in the first place? From your perspective, this is about sound economic policy or about cornering the conservatives?
Sound economic policy.
No.
Why?
This is really going to help Canada because $20 billion is a meaningful amount of money to invest in the things Canadians need. Standing for fairness.
I don't know if people were this. I've said it for a year. I got a financial analyst to call her out on the record. And our economy under her. How she's not fired yet and investigated for treason is beyond me.
This is really important too.
Where's the proof point that the money you say that you're going to get from this additional revenue source is actually going to make Canadians' lives better?
But I do want to come back to what is at the heart of what we're doing. And what we're saying is we are a government that believes in fairness.
I host a radio show during the day. I have been inundated the past 2 days. I could not rely on a pension. So I decided to invest in a second rental property. I have worked nonstop in order to be able to do that. And I have paid taxes along the whole way. And now I'm being told I'm among the ultra wealthy that has to fund the government's income redistribution.
This is really going to help Canada because $20 billion is a...
Yeah, there are people that their life savings are in other, that were in homes that they were renting because they don't have pensions or anything like that. People that are business owners, for example, pizzerias, nail salons, things like, and because of the interest rate increases and just the cost of living overall becoming way too unmanageable, people have lost their fucking life savings. Their plans for retirement, it's devastating. And actually people are even losing more than that because people are having a default on their mortgages more and more this year. Chrystia Freeland. And you're stealing more carbon tax off us, and it's literally going to starve us out, and close down more farms, and further force people into cities and suburbs that are causing mass heat waves and pollution because of the increase in electricity and especially in Canada, like where you need more of a yield of voltage in order to even and that could be utilized, that wouldn't be impacting us as much or taking away so many resources. People are doing exactly what they did in what we're calling desert areas all over the world. Okay, so it's just a cold desert because of where the sun circles us within this cosmos, and how close it gets to certain areas. But things could be mitigated, and ecosystems and biospheres created by finding ways to regrow plant Canada's to do that, and but also getting denied access and limited resources and anyway, all that stuff. Tangent.
Meaningful amount of money,
essentially. Like, how is that about fairness?
According to our calculations, 0.13% of Canadians will pay more every single year based on the...
Like, she's a liar, and she's been on the record lying, and she's going at the fact that she's pushing more and more people out of rural areas and into what we're calling suburbs, but they're 15 cities. They're all looking like they're all overdeveloped. They're taking over the heritage sites, the churches, the community centers. They've taken away fields, like sports fields and dog trails and gardens and monuments. Just in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah, and shredded ancient trees.
measures.
But
But the
that's
other
just
thing,
an
but the
annual,
other
just
thing,
to challenge you for a second, that's
Yeah.
just an annual basis, right? That's not, some people will only pay impacted, could be far greater than what your government has put forward. I know you want to characterize this as we're okay to go after the wealthy and the conservatives are not, but there are a lot of people who do not feel wealthy who feel you are going after them.
so again, I would really disagree with the greatest respect to some.
I would disagree with the greatest respect. You're fucking people over, lady. I was a business owner on my way to being a truther. And it's like, you know what? Like, I'm doxing myself, and here's, you know, all the information I have about things or my assessments. Not always right, but she is ridiculous.
Some of the ways
Ridiculous.
that you've
She
characterized.
is so blind to how much she has fucked over
Is that.
Canada and Canadians.
And I would just say, this is not about going after anybody. Do we want to be a country that
They did an emergency act on peaceful citizens. It was you. That's you. During a March for Freedom, when Canadian parents, even Amish and religious people all over Canada came and were peaceful, and they had literal government workers. I don't classify them as government workers because they're not serving Canadians at all. Okay, they're not military, law enforcement, fire, paramedics, medics, you know, nothing like that. Parliamentary protective services. There's a lot of people that are morbidly obese and fucking smell like yeast infections, no offense, that are getting huge $100,000 jobs working in the health sector, and we're ruining our lives. Putting the climate change committee and the carbon stuff and look at how the education system is going, right? But under fucking Neely Keepland Murr and that unhinged woman, I already showed proof of that. And yeah, during a March for Freedom, like there were people like that were incentivized to leave work, paid by taxpayers, by the parents, and then law enforcement, a huge law enforcement to go against the protest. And it was a peaceful protest, which again, it's still very much legal in Canada. Does it impact change? No. But again, it's legal. And so they had all of these government workers. Again, in Ottawa, it's like 60% government employees, especially in the downtown core. And I would argue it's likely more because this is the capital, and that's where the parliamentary buildings are, and where the meetings happen. And anyways, and the committees, and predominantly government sector, varying degrees, and people don't have to have a fitness test or an IQ test or any form of like assessments, like in order to do their jobs. They don't have to like do the eye tests and the ear tests and the none of that stuff, and getting paid so much money to fuck us over. And they were going against the parents, and there were people wearing like assless chaps and like ridiculous clothing, you know, that didn't fit. And they're screaming and they have body piercings everywhere. And I'm not judging that stuff. Like I have tattoos and you know, body modifications as well, and not judging it. But when it's excessive and when you're going against parents, especially like Amish people and Christians, and they're dressed conservatively and they're being peaceful, and you are screaming and yelling at them and calling them obscene names and stuff like that. It's and they're horrified. It's and that's how you represent it. And then we had Jagmeet Singh and Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau and others actually taking pictures with this counter protest group, which was larger than the March for Freedom group. And again, it was just families, parents, and by the way, that were right, but they were saying that they were not against the LGBT community at all. They were against their children being for like this confirming mental disorders, because this is body dysphoria. When people believe that they are born into another body, right? And it's not something that should be confirmed. And it's coming out now with the Pediatric Society in the US. They've been saying that they've been trying to push this for a couple of years now. They're saying that it's causing a lot more harm than good, and children should not be on blockers or any type of medication to cause sterilization, castration, and or not fully developing productive organs. Obviously, and then obviously it gets the body mutilated because children cannot give informed consent, and so cutting off genitals and or breast tissue and all of this stuff, they're saying it's been causing more harm than good, and suicide rates are not decreasing by affirming this and going through these procedures. And in fact, they're showing, and like I've been saying for years, that it's actually causing people to commit suicide at higher rates after a 5 to 7 period. after they realize when they're old enough to because your brains are not even fully developed yet as a teenager, and there's been so many. I have a cognitive science background as well, multiple degrees, and that this is not a brag at all. I hate it when I say things like that. I'm just trying to give like perspective on where I'm coming from. That's it. And so brains are not fully developed where you're thinking beyond like the short-term ramifications of what you're experiencing, and that comes with age, right? So like around the 18-19 year point, which is why they choose that for adulthood usually, or 21 for the US, and rightfully so. It's because that's the time when the brain starts developing, when you're thinking more long-term and long-term implications of your actions. And so that's I was called a bigot by a man that identified as a woman. And yeah, and so literally like threatening me in my own home. And this was like a week before that mass shooting that killed innocent civilians, children, and teachers in a Christian school. And I've talked about all this stuff. I think redundant. I'm going off path here, but yeah. She was pushing the counter protest for freedom for the children, and again had a huge law enforcement presence as well. And it wasn't to help anyone. So it seems like our government is supporting the wrong side of history. Shocker, I know. I'm not shocked. I'm just saying it's just I'm being ironic. I'm being a little sarcastic with this, but it's I guess the good guys have always won. I guess the good guys are always in power.
To make all of those investments, and I think a fair way to find out you have to ask yourself, do you believe we need to make those investments? I do. And if you believe we need to make those investments, then you have to say, how are you going to finance them? Are you going to just take on more debt? I don't think that's right. I think the way to do it.
We're taking on more debt because of you, lady. My mortgage doubled in the last year, lady. My house insurance because I'm living in a rural area, because people are afraid about the fire and water damage that people are creating. How is arson? Climate change. What the fuck?
Canadians be sure that while they are getting this additional tax for the investments you say are necessary, they will get a return on that investment.
If we were saying to Canadians, we're going to make significant investments based on tax fairness, I want to say to Canadians, and we're going to do it with care. But I do also want to really, I do want to really push back, Vashi, against the notion that we don't need a government that invests. I do think
it's not characterization. I'm saying, are the investments, are Canadians getting return on those investments?
No, but this moves.
Yeah, are Canadians getting returns on those? No. Yeah, she is, though, because she had shares and stocks in the pharmaceutical and industrial complex, and also family members. And Marco Menencino, his wife, also had shares and stocks in oh God, what's the company's name again? Anyway, that Ukrainian military defense company. I've shared this, like I dumped it, but yeah. Anyway, shares and stocks in military companies.
There are more people that
Marco Menencino was a public safety officer, and also wanted to employ tanks on a staged and planned freedom convoy. And David Lemeny Conversations, a guy that's neither of these guys have done any form of actual real labor in their lives, and or any form of experience in any form of leadership capacity and or military or law enforcement. So anyway, maybe Call of Duty experience, but
there are more people than ever going to the food bank. GDP per capita is on the decline right now. Productivity, our own Deputy Bank of Canada governor is sounding an alarm about how terrible our productivity is relative to the United States. What is the evidence that you're going to take all that money from this new tax scheme and invest in ways that actually better our country? And don't you bear responsibility for the place we're at right now?
Vashi, I am 100% sure that our massive investments in early learning and childcare are already making life more affordable for Canadians.
They shut us down and have substantial cognitive decline and stunt of our youth. So, anyways, I'm getting fired up sharing this. I'm just gonna go back to my profile because I wanted to share what I shared a couple of days ago. Oh, there's me on the fishing boat. Of course, this is the one that can't be viewed. So this was my post from, this is 2 days ago. I thought it was sooner than that, but hey. So release CNN, almost any former or current naval person can tell you where the ship is from. So it's from, so I even said this is a Canadian ship. That was my my header. So Russian warships headed to Cuba, just 90 miles. This was breaking news from CNN. And so this was something that I got from a new veteran officer, like really was really like an incredible career, and now really friggin' exposing the truth and has his finger on the pulse on a lot of things. And he's the one that shared with this me and was like said the Canadian ship, and so shared it right away. And yeah. Give credit where credit's due, and more warmongering. And this is just like USS Northwoods. Sorry, not USS Northwoods. I'm talking about the Northwoods incident that I've also talked about a lot. You won't find that on YouTube because my account got zapped again like 2 months ago, so I'm on an older account. So anything in the last year and a half or 2 years, you have to go on Rumble in order to see. So it's Don189. Northwoods, Americans wanted to blame Russia and China for communist attack that they were staging and planning on their own turf, on their own soil, and it was going to involve ships. It was going to be land, air, and sea. So ships, aircrafts, army, law enforcement, multiple levels of government, just like a 9/11, but with a different spin on it, right? Like 9/11 about the Middle East, about oil, about that stuff, and then destabilization, etc. And then this, the communist thing is it's a new cycle. It's rinse, repeat. And I've said this for years as well, right? So it's getting boring, and people are calling it out though, luckily, and because if you don't, then this shit, gets believed. And so how many people watch CNN? There are a lot. I know their information, their intelligence from Fox or CNN, and it frustrates me. And it's even openly admitted, even in Canada, we have high-ranking officials, even Chief Slowly admitted that he found out about the Freedom Convoy through Global News, despite the fact that I was sharing that on my Telegram and Signal and on my social media. Rumble, I have proof from. YouTube, I have, Twitter for sure, and then conversations I had with people. And again, this is just to reiterate that there are people that were tracking this stuff and actively getting censored and blocked and videos removed, and instead of actually Sandy Hook. It's going to show it. Oh, yeah. Speaking of Rebel News, again, I'm just tampering with evidence, withholding evidence. Not properly conducting investigations, baiting, misleading, you name it. So this is from Donald Best. The RCMP deliberately designed their Coots undercover investigations so they deliberately made violated the best evidence rule. Like law enforcement, they're supposed. I mean, obviously they would be more discreet, but I'm just saying body cams are now the norm in Canada. So that's also very interesting. That why would they not collectively recount only evidence of guilt without context. This is a no-no as well. Like I've showed course that I've taught to security professionals, law enforcement, military, police, etc. You name it. About report taking and these. Anyway, further, the undercover officer's written notes were. Oh, and then I also talk about Helen Gruss and her notes and witnesses that are, and then not allowing witnesses and character references for Helen Gruss. There's just so much fuckery going on in Canada right now with law enforcement, and it's calling and chiefs, ex-chiefs, bullshit. And again, they're getting silent. The media is not reporting this, and I don't understand why. To bury it, and the center, right? So NDP as well, and for how they managed this and COVID, people should be invested. Officers' written notes were not contemporaneously made or even made as soon as practical. The officer made notes only after briefing supervisors. Oh my God. Even if not intentional, there is no doubt that the conversations with supervisors caused the officer to tailor her notes to the investigation goals. This RCMP officer would not take the cut on any undercover or detective squad I've ever served with. That I agree with this assessment. I absolutely agree with that assessment. And further, the supervisors and how corrupt to design or allow the substandard and highly suspect investigation. After learning the prosecution evidence thus far, I can't see anything supporting the evidence coming, fired up and executed to facilitate manipulation or falsification of evidence. Our Krychek, he's from Rebel News, is correct. One of the only lack of undercover voice I typically wear innocuous is the technology. Like I know this for a fact with the technologies that can be put in eyewear, in lipstick, in purses, in wallets, in in buttons. Like I'm not gonna go down the list. And even your tape recorder, like it's just so fun. Like the RCMP police undercover influence just what was happened here. Did serious arrests at Coutts in order to declare the emergency act. So that's what the RCMP delivered, and they wanted the same thing down. If you're fucking watching, you're welcome. The people that were trying to bait, okay, didn't do what they wanted them to do.
Her own documentation. And
so people like me made it peaceful. And then people that were working within government and or veterans of all different government agencies like got fired for attending the Freedom Convoy on behalf. Oh my God. And they weren't even in uniform. They were just identified. And so like, that's fucking bullshit. I keep swearing. I apologize for that. But there were so many people within government that were on the right side of history, but unfortunately they were still the minority, right? So I'd say like it was maybe 5% of people within government. How fast 2020 people in first responder type positions were vaccinated and then committed, and anything that we were sharing to question like the side effects and things like that, and like the yeah. So here's Robert Krajcik.
And record of her own statements and behaviors in the context of her investigations is not often done. Bayek also said that.
Oh, bad reception. Sorry, guys. I know this sounds very conspiratorial. But it's based off of a substantial amount of data collection before coming into these possible assessments. So while this is still loading, I'm just going to read today conference in Ukraine, peace in Ukraine, following up on Ukraine's request. Switzerland has invited over 160 delegations from around the world to join the first summit on peace in Ukraine tomorrow. So this will be the first one. So the 6th month, and you got the 15th, like 5 plus 1 is 6. You got the 60s. Anyway. Still loading. Man, oh man, bad reception. Okay. So even this thing on, okay, now you can see it. Okay, so there you go. Switzerland, Wikipedia has to say, not a good reference for when you're citing, when you're doing dissertations. And I did not invite China. Okay, so 6 days ago, China said it will. I hope I'm back on. Reception is so bad I had to connect on an American IP So let me just go through here. Okay, let me. Ah!
Also said that, quote,
Anytime now. Painful, guys. I'm sorry. And gals. Attempting. I did want to so on the mark with so many things. And I would love to chat with him on his show, get that Canadian American connection, more for Canadian perspective, and I would be bringing in a and he would be bringing in an American perspective, and yeah. So Trump vows to make Israel lobby more powerful in America in Sean Hannity interview. My reaction, this is an anomaly. Don Mate 9 is my handle for Rumble. So it doesn't mean anything at all, and stuff like that, but I do, because I get more people that watch my channel, and so when I talk poorly about Pierre or Trump, that usually gets people to not like me. But anyway, I do believe it was a show mock trial that he was part of, and he absolutely is benefiting from it. And so I think it was like staged and planned. I think he was fully part of it, and it was good marketing and an advertisement, and yeah. So and with Space Force and the fact that it QAnon and getting as big as it did, which again is in order to destabilize the U.S. and counting the scripts. So I don't think that he necessarily necessarily has anyone's best interest at heart, except for the people that he works for and with. And yeah.
Think the attack ever happened. And take a look. Even Schumer has become like a
Sean Hannity, like a lot of people I know on the right, listen to him, and he has some good data out there, but also someone that is misinformed and causing a lot of harm because he has a huge audience and a very influential, powerful people in government and corporation heads, and he's really not like, he's really just drinking the Kool-Aid and not even knowing it. Oh, maybe I'll connect. Interesting. I'm back with shitty reception. Okay, I'm gonna not belabor this too much. I might have to end the stream. I'm over an hour anyways now, but it looks like nothing's loading properly. So anyway, on that note, I'm just saying that even with Trump, it seems that who he's aligned with, it's not like it's everything to do with socioeconomic status and nothing to do with like his nation or the nation, and invested into proxy wars that were and mass crimes are being committed. He's not someone that's like, people are saying that he's not a war president, none of that stuff. But look what happened with COVID. That people do consider that to be a possible war. A huge psyops, a huge pandemic, and he fully expedited the vaccines and committed to the lockdown. Finally impacted society, but nowhere near like Canada and Canadians were impacted, right? And so at least there's that. Because yeah, Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland and these people, they did everything wrong, and they had the full support of everyone else in government. That handful of people like myself that were trying to scream from the rooftops, like, fucking stop. And oh my goodness. And at expense to our careers and reputations, and very, very, very difficult, challenging times. And again, also having people like targeting us within government and trying to paint us as criminals, and trying to bait us, trying to mislead, trying to just awful things, and then financially cripple us and things like that. But yeah, which causes a lot of stress on people. And you'll notice there was a lot of divorce and separation and suicides and addiction increases during this time, and cognitive decline in children, and profoundly impacted. And Trump was also very much part of that. He was the president at the time. Like there were, let's see if this will work. I'm just gonna keep on. I'll give it one last go. Okay, no, it's not working. So anyways, on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. I will leave it at that.